And
you don't have audio. Okay, now you have audio. Now you can
hello
go.
and welcome to AGK Media. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Younis. Stick with us a couple of minutes, and in a couple of minutes we're going to talk about that subject. Why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found? And part of the reason is while my audio is way up. So about 3 minutes ago, I was still in the shower, and Shelley reminded me that we're doing a 1 o'clock show.
Oh, it sounds like I was in there with you. I was not in there
No.
with you.
All right, Shelley was not in the shower with me. Okay, so we have some programming announcements. First, hi everybody, how are you doing? We have some programming announcements to make, and we'll do those first, and then we'll tell you what's going on, especially with this show. So the programming announcements are, we're going to go back to being a full Fenn channel. We're moving our other products, the softer side and what you should know, to their respective YouTube channels, and we're going to stick with the Fenn, strictly with the Fenn stuff on this channel. The style that we're going back to is a combination of things. We really want to incorporate the conversational style, the radio conversational style, into our programming. So from this point forward, we're going to do 4 shows a week, and all 4 shows are going to take place on Wednesdays and Fridays. There will be 2 shows at 1 p.m., one on Wednesday, one on Friday, and 2 shows at 7 p.m., one on Wednesday and one on Friday. On Wednesday and Friday, we're going to pick a topic, kind of like that one, and we're going to express our opinions on the matter. And then we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to ask you, when you call in, to stick to that topic, to express your opinion on the matter. We're going to say, now, if you have a question that you want answered about the Fenn treasure, or if you have a question about us and what we're doing, save those for the nighttime programming. The Wednesday and Friday programs will go for 1 hour, right? So 1 hour on a specific topic, and then goodbye for the afternoon. Then tonight, we'll have a 2-hour program that opens it up to our text messages, voicemail, email messages, saying hi to the room, and all those other things that you have become accustomed to for the Wednesday Hump Day Hoedown and Friday Fandango. Those are the programming changes that we can make. No more conflicts with other programming. We're going to move those to other channels. And if you want to know why, it's simply a matter of analytics, okay? And for those of you who are owners of YouTube channels.
Joel Lewicki and Jason Younis have volunteered to be on panels for you.
Oh, well, good, because we plan to do that as well. Now, with our panels, we, of course, we know it's difficult for people to make the 1 o'clock show to do panels. So we'll do the panels in the evening, and then we'll open up, again, the topics. We'll do them maybe at least once a month, maybe twice a month on Wednesdays. If we start doing panels again, they will take the place of the hoedown. Okay, hey, Jace, hi. We just had a conversation this week about how we've missed seeing each other because we've both been so busy. Mm-hmm. And usually I used to go on Fridays to visit with Jace and Shush, Michael, and now our Fridays are taken up in programming. So
that's true.
Okay, repeat one time. Our programming is now Wednesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. and Wednesdays and Fridays at 7 p.m. Wednesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. are topical. We want you to call in and discuss the topic after I open up the phone lines. And then Wednesday and Friday evenings are pretty much going to remain the same as they have been in the past. Okay, so if that is at all confusing, go back to the beginning of the program. And if you really want to be confused, see our start, because we were kind of rushed.
All right.
Because
just
I
often,
was in the
all
shower.
the time.
She wasn't.
Easy.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Our topic for today is, why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found? And why do you think the Fenn treasure hasn't been found?
Same reason you can't find things. It's always the last place you look.
Is that it? Just as simple as that?
Yeah.
So we just have to keep looking until we look in the last place?
Uh-huh. Or start at the end first, I guess.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Read the
Yeah.
poem backwards, start with a blaze. Is that
Well,
what you-
Jason's been talking about the backwards bike, and it's like when you're looking for anything around your house, it's always in the last place you look.
Yeah.
Of course, you stop looking after you find it. So
Yeah, I'm looking fresh, Joel, because I just popped out of the shower, literally. I've been working all morning on the house. I think there are at least 3 reasons why the Fenn treasure hasn't been found. And I'm going to state all 3, and I'm going to give you my opinions on each. And then you guys can call in as soon as I haven't opened up the phone lines yet. I'll open them up as soon as I finish expressing my opinion, because you can do that when you have your own YouTube channel. And then you guys can call in and express your opinion on the matter. Why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found? So let's talk about the one that's the most complicated, perhaps. And that is the Fenn treasure hasn't been found because Forrest Fenn didn't hide a treasure. I do not believe that is true. And I do not believe that is true because there's too much evidence that suggests the opposite. There is no proof, right? There won't be proof until the Fenn treasure has been found. But if you look at Forrest Fenn's life, if you look at his approach to life, if you look at what he did in preparation to deliver this, quote, product, unquote, to the market, to me, it seems that he put a lot in place in order to make this happen. And I think that's the kind of evidence I would look at to determine whether or not this treasure exists. I believe it exists. We believe it exists. That we stop searching is not counter to that. We had other reasons for stopping searching. So we believe the treasure exists, and so we don't think that's why it hasn't been found. It exists. And as I said, there's lots of evidence to substantiate that. It's circumstantial, but you can win a case on circumstantial evidence. Ask Joe Lewicki, I'm sure he has. Number 2 is that we haven't been able to find it because we don't know where it is, right? We haven't looked in the right places. We haven't interpreted the poems the right way. There's been, Fenn claims 350,000 boots-on-the-ground searches, and sooner or later you have to wonder, why isn't it that one of those 350,000 hasn't come back with some kind of, close shot? I was here, all the clues matched. Now, if I was close, I don't know that I would necessarily share it to anyone, but it strikes me as unusual that we have spent 9 years, 350,000 boots on the ground, according to Fenn's estimate, and that treasure has not been found, nor is there any indication of those walks of shame, like we have all had. I've had 32 of them. That those walks of shame have indicated any kind of success, that there was conviction with what your warm waters were and what your home of brown was, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, that might just be because the person that is closest and that has resolved those issues doesn't care to share them. But I thought it was interesting in our conversations with Sherry what she said about the approach to the David Blaine treasure, and that was, as she was getting progressively closer to recovering it, she went to the forums and she used other people's solutions to get her to the last few steps. She showed up at the point that everybody had talked about, in the case of Fenn's treasure, not quite the blaze, but just before the blaze. And she entered into it at that point, went to look for it, and that had all been discussed before that, right? Everybody had discussed each one of them and had resolution to it. And the reason they had resolution is because they were ciphers. They were embedded in a book, and they were ciphers. And they were very clear that once you resolved this cipher, you had a clue, and the clue was visible to the naked eye. So that was one of the biggest differences about the Blaine treasure versus the Fenn treasure. There is no positive proof, positive evidence that your clue is exactly what Fenn meant it to be. So that makes it very difficult to feel like you're making progress in all of this. And I think that was one of the key points that I felt like was different between Sherry's adventure in the Blaine treasure and this one. you knew exactly where you were in the Blaine treasure because you had deciphered his clues and they were visible to the naked eye. I don't think that's necessarily true in the Fenn treasure, which makes it very difficult to feel like you're making progress. Then the third reason is, and this is the one that I feel closest to. I don't know how Shelley feels about it. I'll ask her how she feels about it in just a minute. And that is, I am convinced that Fenn, and I'm going to use this because I know he doesn't like me saying this, that Fenn over-engineered the poem. And what I mean by that is that he made it so much like him that unless we are like him precisely, we'll never be able to figure it out. We'll never quite understand what he means by each one of those because they're so personal, they're so individualized to Fenn's personality that we'll never quite understand it. Now, of those three, I think I can exclude number one. I believe Fenn hid a treasure. We believe Fenn hid a treasure. I believe that number two, which is we haven't been able to find it, isn't as much the result of our inabilities or our weaknesses or our unwillingness to test our theories. I think it goes to number three, and that is, unless you're Forrest Fenn, you will never understand the clues in this poem, at least in our lifetime. So what does that leave? That leaves the thing that Fenn claimed could never possibly happen, and that is, we're never going to be Fenn. We're going to continue looking for the treasure until every one of the treasure hunters has lost interest except the hardcores, and then somebody will stumble over it. So those are my opinions on the matter. Would you care to add to that?
No.
You're fine with that? Mm-hmm. Is there anything that I said that you don't agree with?
No.
Okay. So that's where we are. We've got about 45 minutes left in this hour to take phone calls, and I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. And the only thing I'm going to ask is that when you call in, I'm going to ask you to stick to the topic. I'm going to ask you to tell me, to tell the room, to tell Shelley, to tell us why you think the Fenn treasure hasn't been found. And if you have some sort of resolution to that issue, then I'd like you to share that as well. So the only thing I'm going to ask is stick to the topic. If you don't stick to the topic, then I'm going to hang up and go to the next caller. Okay? So, cancel. Let's go. Oh, that's interesting. They changed the screen. They made it easier. Phone lines are now open. You can call us at 866-597-9901. That's 866-597-9901. And we have a caller. Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So who is this?
I'm calling from Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yay, Minnesota. Yay for Minnesota. And what's your name?
Barry.
Barry? Like in Barry,
Yes.
Barry Manilow, Barry?
Like Barry McCockiner.
All right, Barry. So tell us, why do you think the Fenn treasure has not been yet found?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Why do you think? So today's show is entitled, Why Hasn't the Fenn Treasure Been Found? So I'm asking you, as a caller, why do you think the Fenn treasure hasn't been found? Oops, Barry hung up. Got panicked there, couldn't come up with the answer. Sounded like he had a party going on in Minnesota. Is it snowing in Minnesota? You guys are indoors?
Joel, you should call in. Looks like you've got some ideas on why the treasure hasn't been found yet.
Yeah.
You can have a Minnesota day.
Yeah, we'll just make it everybody from Minnesota gets priority. Okay, phone lines are open. Why do you think the Fenn treasure hasn't been found? I'm going to go back into the room and let's say hi to some folks while you guys are coming in. Tony Driver's in the room. A lot of peeps are working. Many will watch the recording, I imagine. Tony, that's generally true. Joel Lewicki's in the room. Hi, Joel. Here we go. Got another call. New Mexico phone number. Hey, you've reached Toby and Shelley. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Well, I think I told everybody where you're calling from.
Uh-oh.
No,
Try again.
that's another call.
It's Tom.
Oh,
Hey, Tom, go ahead. Speak up just a bit.
Hey,
Hey, Tom, do me a favor and turn the audio off on your computer. Otherwise, you and I are going to both get feedback.
got it. I see what. It's Tom Terrific.
Hey, Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Toby. You and I have conversed a few times.
We have indeed. Good to hear from you.
To say that I think one of the reasons it hasn't been found is simply because I don't think people are getting the idea of the possibility that there's actually two different ways to approach this structure.
So,
three-dimensional.
Let me go back. Let me go back to what I said. So we gave one of three options. Option number one is it's not out there. Option number two is we don't get it, and option number three is he made it too hard. Which of those two options, which of those three options are you supporting?
We don't get it.
Yeah. So tell us why we don't get it.
We don't get it. Well, imagine, first of all, that he said this is a structure. I mean, it is literally got another dimension to it. That's what an architect does, designs a structure. So if you look at a structure on a two-dimensional form, which is looking at it straight on, it looks like there's only one dimension, but there's actually two different directions you have to come at this poem from. I think you come at this poem from both ends. In other words, you start out at where warm waters halt, and that's two separate places. For example, it could be maybe a degree of latitude like 32, which is where water freezes. The other could be that it is, in fact, at the snowfield where the rivers start and where this creek starts, or, if we're supposed to be on a creek. Mm-hmm. Now imagine each one of the clues is moving you closer and closer and closer to the middle. The key is to find the middle, and that's where the blaze is. Now the blaze is the only part of the poem where the tense changes completely. Mm-hmm. Think about it. You have to be wise and have found, in other words, have found the blaze.
Past
you
tense.
have to find the blaze long before and whether or not it's been found, whether or not somebody's got it, that's up for debate. I don't think it's going to be totally found until somebody stands in front of it and looks quickly down.
Okay, so
that's my take on it.
No, I think that's a good take. Let me ask you a couple of questions. So, because that one line, if you've been wise and found the blaze, implying a past tense, is it your sense that perhaps the blaze isn't that clue before you look quickly down, that it could have occurred before that? Meaning, if you've been wise and found a blaze at the beginning of the set of clues rather than at the end, is that what you're implying?
Here's what I'm implying.
Okay.
I want you to think about this really carefully.
Well, we want everybody in the room to think about this very carefully. That's why you're calling in.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope everybody can hear me, but
yeah, they can hear you.
Hear me all and listen good or whatever. But when you start to think that Forrest had 15 years to put this together, there has got to be something more to this. You have to find the blaze either by one of his books or by something that has a lot to do with his reason that he's still alive today. I mean, twice he's almost died, right?
Yeah.
What happens whenever you almost die? It's a celebration. It's a revival. I mean, it's like you're a revenant. You have come back from the dead. Now, this guy has twice now in his life that we know of come back from the dead. Look at chapter 106 in Too Far to Walk. Mm-hmm. Why is it not chapter 106, page 106? Why is it chapter 22? Why is it jungle wisdom? Why do you have to be wise to know the blaze? Why? Because the man has survived death twice.
All right.
And he's got a rainbow over him, So that's about all I have to say, right?
Hang on.
People don't get it.
I do have a question for you. So everything that you described as the reason for us not getting it, were really things that were characteristics of Fenn. He designed it like an architect. He engineered it. He spent over 15 years doing this. He asks why the jungle wisdom, why be wise to me. All of what you just said, or I don't want to say all of what a lot of what you just said implies the third of the reasons it hasn't been found, that he over-engineered it. And he over-engineered it based on his own personality. And until we become his personality, we will never get it. What do you say to that?
Why did he talk about riding a bicycle backwards? Think about that for a second.
Well, let's go back to the other question.
Would it be?
Let's go back to the question that I asked you. Everything that you described implies that the reason we haven't found this treasure is that Forrest Fenn spent 15 years over engineering it to the extent that we don't understand. And you're saying one of the things that you said is, why would he use a phrase? Why you're referring to pages in Too Far to Walk, right? In chapter 22, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I'm referring to I'm gonna back you up here just a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna put something out here that I've not told anybody, but think about this for a second.
All right.
What is the number 106 to Fenn?
It could
What
be.
is the number 90? What is the number 22?
Those are. They could be directions on the compass, right?
Okay, no.
Or they could be
Catch-22
longitude.
was a book.
Oh.
No. Hold on.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's chapter 22.
Mm-hmm.
What you've heard of the book Catch-22. We all know about the book, right?
Yes.
We all know what it was about. Now, Catch-22 is a very important number. Read the fifth stanza to me out loud on the air, what the fifth stanza in this poem says. What does it say?
Well, I don't have it handy with me, and I don't have it memorized either.
Oh, okay. Well, what it says is, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. Think about that for a second. In the book Catch-22, and in Jungle Wisdom, and in the page number, what do you think the latitude was? And never mind, I don't want to give that away, because if you see it, you're going to think rainbow, and it's going to make sense to you, and perhaps the blaze is a rainbow.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's.
I can't tell you any more than that.
All right, let's give somebody else a chance. So let's sum it up in one sentence for me. Why hasn't Fenn's treasure been found?
I think people have not realized that you're moving to the middle and not from two different directions.
So
and
you're
each
going.
clue has two reference points.
You think it's number 2, right? That we haven't quite figured it out yet.
We haven't quite. Most people haven't. Some people have, and they've got parts and bits and pieces. But if you're not local, or you can't get out there in the field, maybe some of this won't make sense to you.
Okay, one last thing before you go. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to do me a favor, please. I want you to repeat the following phrase from somebody in the room. Ready? Repeat this phrase.
Sure.
Pootie tang.
What?
Hootie tang.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Tom, terrific. Thanks for calling in. You're always filled with insight, and I'm glad you called in. Thanks for calling in today.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. All right, phone lines are open. You're going to get this in 30 seconds, so I can't give you any hints. I can't tell you to call in, but the phone lines are open. And call in and let's have a conversation about why you think Forrest Fenn. I'm going to keep you on the topic, okay? I'm going to make you stay on the topic. Look at what I did to my Fenn coin. So I've got another project on another YouTube channel going, and I had to teach myself how to plate things. Copper and nickel, and then silver and gold. And so I took my copper coin, and is that from William? Well done, William, huh? You still owe me a penny. And I nickel-plated my...
Jason's on.
There's my sign. Wow, that is really loud. Hang on. Hey, JJ.
Hey, what's up?
Not a whole bunch. How about you?
Not much. So this is Jason out of Albuquerque.
Yeah, well, you come up on my phone as Jason Younis, so yeah, we knew that, but nobody else did. This is my son. Turn your audio down in the background. So for those of you that aren't aware, most of you are, I'm sure. This is my son, Jason Michael. He's my eldest and my eldest son, but also my eldest, and he has 4 kids. Am I missing one? 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
4 kids.
That's it. 4.
And his youngest is also a Michael. His name is Shush Michael. So we are Toby Michael, Jason Michael, and Shush Michael. And Shush is Baby Bear. Shush. I keep saying it wrong. William Still owes me a penny.
Awesome.
So
to get on topic,
yeah.
I think the reality is, if we look at the example of some of the other searches that we've talked about recently, the reality is, I do think the treasure's out there. I do not think that Forrest would go through this trouble. And I do think that if for some reason there was some subterfuge going on, I think his family would have called him on it a long time ago, maybe right about the time an axe-wielding guy tried to break into their home. Mm-hmm. I do think it's out there. I do think it's findable. And but if you look at the examples of these other searches, I mean, I really think you're going to have to be right on top of it, and you're going to have to look immediately down. There's a reason why, of the few lines that are in this poem, there is a line that literally says, "Look immediately down." I don't know if that means it's a crag or a crevice or what, but I do think that you literally need to be standing on point and look down to have a chance at this thing. And if you look at the example of some of the other searches we've been talking about and everything that Sassy related with her experience, it's kind of mind-boggling to think that you've got the entire Rocky Range, or for some crazy searchers, just New Mexico, and it's going to come down to literally just standing right over this thing before somebody comes up with it. So, I think that's why it's taken so long. The other thing I believe is because it has taken as long as it has, with as many people have come into it, I think it's going to go a long time. I think this thing's got legs because given the number of people and the varied experience and the time that's been put into it, if the knowledge was out there, we would have seen it. Somebody would have reclaimed it now, which means it's going to take something much more than just extraordinary thought to pull this one off.
All right. So let's go back to the original question and my original 3 premises. You do believe it's out there. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we're left with the 2 premises. Either we don't get it or he made it too hard. Which of those are you leaning?
I think he knew when he was making it that it's a funny wink, wink, hard to him. Like, think of anything in your experience and in your history that you thought was unique or funny, and you knew that it was unique and funny only because it was you, because you were there at the point to witness or whatever that moment was. And you thought to yourself, I could say a series of things to my friends, and they would never figure out from the clues what I'm trying to describe here. But it is possible. It's not completely impossible. It's just very, very improbable. And I think that's what this is going to be. I don't think he made it too hard. I think the whole point of hiding a treasure this size and expecting it to go for some length is because you came up with something, whatever it was in that moment, when he saw that spot. When he says it's a special spot, I don't think it was randomly special. I don't think it was literally like, this is just a really neat spot. I think he literally looked at it as an adventurous guy out in nature and said, man, I've never seen a place like that before in my life. And if I ever was going to do something crazy like hide a treasure, that's where I'd put it, because no one's going to pull that one off. When he confidently says no one is going to happen across this treasure, there's a really good hint in that, you know. there's something that he saw or ran across where he just said, even if you're a fisherman wandering around these, you're not just going to happen across there.
So again, I have to ask, did he over-engineer it?
I think, so here was the trick, and I think this is why it took him so long, was that I think, once you find the spot and you decide you're going to do this, the trick was to write a poem that was interesting enough to justify a book, and that wouldn't necessarily give the first intelligent person who applied logic the ability to go and get the treasure. So, over-engineered is a matter of perspective. First off, I don't see him as the engineering type. I see him more as the outdoor Renaissance kind of guy, and so I don't think of it as a logical flow as engineering. I think sometimes we've talked about him being an architect, and that's closer to what I feel like he did with this. He built and created something using skills that he had, his writing, his awareness of nature, his awareness of navigation and compass rules and things, and he crafted something that I still think when it's found, we're all just going to be like, oh, geez, you're kidding me. Really? Because it's going to be just one of those quirky Fenn things where, it's like being in Texas and having an old cowboy tell you a joke, kind of nudge, nudge. Don't you get it? Don't you get it? So, yeah.
So
I don't feel over-engineered out of that, though.
Let me ask you one more question, and then I'm going to go on to the next caller. Okay, you and I are connected. Please do. You and I are connected by genetics, right? We are practically Jason and I years ago had to have a genetic test done.
We are closer to each other than man is to ape.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's really true. We are 99.49s similar in DNA. But so that implies a lot. But let me ask you this question, because I know we're very different from one another in a heart and head perspective. So, and I want you to be honest here, because it's not going to hurt anything to be honest with it.
Boy.
How much of what I do in your life, as you've seen me go through my life, how much of what I do in my life makes perfect sense to you?
Perfect is a strong word, really. Perfect sense to me. That's an interesting, I would say somewhere in the mid to low 60s.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not actually going to discuss that, but I know us well enough to know that.
Let's talk about it. I mean, you brought it up.
But I know enough to know that we do have those differences. So let's say I wrote a poem. There's a 40% chance even my son, who is 99.9999 like me, genetically speaking, wouldn't be able to completely understand it. And that's the point. I'm not genetically connected to Fenn any more than anyone else that is watching this right now. So the likelihood that I could think like Fenn, could understand Fenn, to be like Fenn, is impossible when your own son, and this is not a criticism, I actually expected a much lower number, honestly, says that although we're genetically connected to Six Sigma, that 60% of the stuff that I do in my life, you're still not like, what the hell is he doing? So I think that was the point that I was trying to make before, is how am I ever going to figure out Fenn enough to figure this thing out and not stumble over it? And I think that's the point that you were making, that it's partially us and partially him, and a lot of it is going to be about us thinking about him. And I want you to know that
absolutely
none of this conversation will be held against you in the future. I will go and pick you up on Monday for Five Guys.
All right, love you. You guys are doing a great job.
Love
Have
you.
a good one.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
A call from Joel.
That was, did Joel call?
Joel tried to call.
Oh, okay.
Did he leave a voicemail, or is he going to call back?
He's probably going to call back because it'll go to voicemail. Yeah, he did call, and
So Joel, give us a call back. There we go.
there we go. I can tell Joel is in my contacts list because his name pops up. Hey, Joel, how are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Toby and Shelley.
How are you
Hello.
doing?
Doing great.
So what do you think? Why hasn't Fenn's treasure been found?
So I've been thinking about this while you guys have been talking, and one of the things I've been thinking about recently is perspective, right? So I think it's not that Forrest over-engineered it. I think it's that we don't see it from his perspective. And one of the things I've been thinking about is in his book, he talks so much about the way he looks at things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see what other people thought in these great authors. No, Mrs. Ford, my eyes weren't closed, just my eyelids were. He talks about his way of seeing things, right? It took me so long to understand the value in other people. He covered up Philadelphia with his thumb, and that was like a pivotal moment in his life. It was when he started to see things differently. And I think a big part of his way he hit it was in his perspective. And not being able to see it from his perspective, I think it's probably an unintentional over-engineering, but it was just natural for him. He didn't intend to make it that hard. It's just that it was from his unique perspective, and he couldn't help it. He couldn't have done it any other way.
So let's talk about that moment where he was flying over the city, and he covers the city of Philadelphia with his thumb. You said that was an inflection point for him. What is it at that moment that you think changed about Forrest Fenn?
His way of viewing people and the importance an individual can have, and how important it is that we value other people and see the value in ourselves. He was very self-conscious growing up and didn't think that he had value, right? So the whole thing about his name, at least they couldn't take that away from him.
Right.
And once he began to see that other people had value as well, and he realized that he had value and he could impact people even maybe after he was gone, this whole treasure hunt is his way of doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's an expression of the lessons I think he learned from having that perspective shift.
In My War for Me, he mentions about that one after action he had where he was flying over what he thought was a column, and as he flew lower, he realized it was a funeral procession, and it affected him to the extent that it brought tears to his eyes. Do you think that those two are connected, the Philadelphia incident and the funeral incident when he was flying literally a weapon of mass destruction?
Yeah, and the difference there was his altitude, right? Mm-hmm. He makes a point of saying that he was so high in the one that he had to have a special suit on. He had to watch the blinker to make sure that his blood wasn't going to boil, right? And he wasn't going hypoxic. And the other one, he was so low and going so fast, they didn't know he was coming.
Right.
And certainly that affects your perspective. He talks about, to an ant, a mud puddle is an ocean. He's always talking about this idea of perspective. Dale even had a write-up on this where the whole search was like in an area of a couple of feet. He was using his imagination to try to have a solve that was so small. Sorry, I forgot who I was talking to. A solution that was so small to have that perspective of from an ant. This is what it would look like. And so the big question is, how do you view it from Forrest Fenn's perspective? But to answer your question, I don't think that he over-engineered it intentionally. It's definitely out there.
You think so? We think it's out there. We don't think he over-engineered it. So you're number two. We haven't quite gotten it yet, for lack of a better way. I know that doesn't quite describe what you're saying, but it's kind of up to us to figure it out, and we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, and for instance, he said, to his uncertain knowledge, there's one important aspect that he's surprised people haven't gotten. Mm-hmm. And I still think that that's out there. And I don't know what it is.
No, nor do any of us, actually, I suppose. Well, Joel, thank you for sharing your insight with us. I've had three calls this afternoon.
Opinion, maybe,
No, it's 3 calls.
Insight might be stretching it.
I've had 3 calls, 3 good calls. I can't ask for more than that on a Wednesday afternoon. So thank you, sir, for calling in. I really appreciate
all right.
it.
Well, have
It was
a
nice to
great
talk to you.
afternoon. Thanks for doing the good work.
By the way, we've moved on from solution to theory.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, sir. Hope the weather gets better in Minnesota. You guys got some more snow, right?
Take care. Be well. Do good work.
Thank
Stay
you.
in touch.
We will.
No comment.
No comment. Okay, phone lines are
It's like,
open
it's
again.
Minnesota. What do you expect?
Guys, I don't know about you, but we've had, 3 calls, and each one of them provided new and different insight to the conversation. So I'm glad we brought this up. We got 20 minutes before the hour. Let's go to commercial. Oh, we don't have commercials. That's right. Did William pay me the money
You
he
said
owed me?
no specials.
He still owes me a penny.
No
Wait a minute.
specials on the hour show.
I did want to comment on somebody said it's worth. Yeah, you're right. When it's a copper coin plated in nickel, is still worth what you paid for it at the from
Nickel's worth
Calzar's.
5 times what a penny is.
But I didn't do it for that. I actually did it. The benefit came in the learning because I'm trying to teach myself how to plate things. And I started with copper, and then I've upgraded to nickel, and then I'm going to upgrade to silver, and then finally to gold. So I'm just teaching myself different things. Who we got here? Okay, you reached Shelley and Toby. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Paul from Montana.
Paul from Montana? One of the search states?
Well, that's where I'm from.
Oh, but you're living in New Mexico.
This is my search state right now.
Yeah, all right. So,
Well, I'm actually living in Texas. Yeah, something like that. Okay.
So there's the question. Why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found?
Because there's too many Homer Browns.
Wow, that's new and different. So what do you mean by there's too many? How could there be too many homes of Brown? You mean too many definitions or too many physical locations?
There's you can always narrow it down and put in below the Homer Brown if you'd like to.
Well, no.
If you're able to, in fact, maybe you're not able to put in below the Homer Brown is what I'm really running into. It's
unable.
hard to access that.
Well, let me go back. Take us back. So I asked why you think the Fenn treasure hasn't been found. You said there are too many homes of Brown. So let me get clarification on that. When you say there are too many homes of Brown, do you mean physically there are too many homes of Brown, like there are too many locations that could be the home of Brown, or that the way you define the home of Brown, there's a bunch of those definitions of the home of Brown? Which are you implying?
There's a bunch of definitions of the Homer Brown.
Oh, interesting.
If you find the right one, I believe if you find the right one, and you can put in below the Homer Brown, you might have a shot at this thing.
So again, let me see if I can clarify. The challenge is going to be determining which of the many definitions of the home of Brown is the one that's incorporated in the poem. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. So, if you'd like to, I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask you to do this, but you don't have to if you don't want. What's the correct definition of the home of Brown? Let me just ask. What's the context for the home of Brown? In your opinion?
Okay. Yeah. It's whatever. It's really, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's only my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, it would be whatever you want it to be, and in my case, it's just a home of Brown.
Literal.
It's a home that's brown.
Oh, a home of Brown. That's a home that is brown.
Yeah, of brown. I mean, it's this. Yeah.
Oh, as if I were to say, I live in a home of brick. That's how you see it. I live in a home of brown in color, which is actually true. But
That's fine. Yes,
Yeah,
if that's
yeah.
the way you want to do it, and that's the way I'm gonna address this, because
Okay.
everything else and okay.
And you feel like until we've worked that out, we're not going to find this treasure.
That's correct.
So you're going with number 2. It's
You know, and you're going with number 2.
it's our fault.
Yeah, I'm going with number 2.
Yeah.
That is correct.
All
You know?
right. Well, Paul, thank you for calling in. Let me take some
You're
more
very-
callers and see what else people have to say about this.
Yeah, and I'm running out to go fishing now, because this has kind of turned into a vacation for me now, because I just wanted to just say this, you know, I have many more home of browns to look at. And so I'm going to be just, you know, I have to say, I went out here for 3 days, and I've been out here for 3 weeks, and I'm loving it. And I just went into Cabela's and got me a little cheap fishing rod, and I'm going to head on out and look for some more Homer Browns, and maybe one of them will be it.
Did you go to our new Cabela's here in Albuquerque, or the one in Texas?
No, I'm right now in the parking lot of a Cabela's in Montana.
Oh, Montana! Wow. So, man, sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How's the weather?
And
How's the weather there?
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually a little warm for me.
So no
And,
snow on the
It
ground?
looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. Not at all.
Wow. So
But you know, it can come and hit quick, though.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to watch the weather out here.
apparently
I mean,
that's
you know, right now it's sunny, but you know, in 30 minutes you're going to be in a blizzard. So you really have to be careful about that.
yeah. All right, Paul. Thank you for. I'm sorry.
You know, so
Well, thank you for calling in, expressing your opinion. We really appreciate it. Good luck with your fishing, and send us pictures if you get anything good sized. We'll put them on the show tonight.
I will do that.
All right, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye now.
Hey, you too. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.
Phone lines are open again. Call in. We got so guys, if you call in while somebody is talking to us, it'll just send you to voicemail. So wait until I give you the cue, and then see if you can beat everybody else dialing in. Let's see. Is there anything in the room? Any questions from the room? Wow. All I got to do is say the word, huh?
And then answer the phone, yeah.
Sorry. Hey, you've reached Shelley and Toby on Gypsy's Kiss. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Joe Treasure Hunter.
Hey, Joe Treasure Hunter.
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Hey, brother. So what's your opinion? Why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found?
Well, everybody's so focused on the treasure that they don't understand what direction he's actually going in.
So
They can't take their eyes off that.
what category does then that your opinion fall in? Is that number 2, we don't get it, or number 3, he over-engineered it?
Oh, he engineered it perfectly.
You think so? It's perfectly
I
engineered.
would have to say that most people don't get it because they can't take their eyes off the prize, and it keeps them from realizing what the real deal is with it.
So that's a very nebulous statement. What do you mean by we can't take our eyes off the prize? What does that mean?
Everybody's so concerned with the chest that they don't understand the poem. There's a story there.
So you lost me. What are you trying to say?
Everybody wants to find that chest.
Yes, but and supposedly we're using the poem to do that.
Yeah.
But
If you put the chest out of your mind and focus on the poem and the thrill of the chase, you got to chase down a lot of history to figure out what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you concern yourself more with the history than the chest, then you'll find the direction. And most people don't do that, I don't feel.
Are you talking about history in an academic way or history of Fenn in particular?
Academically and Fenn.
Oh, that covers a lot of territory. Any what period of history would you recommend that we start researching in order to give us some context for what's going on in the thrill of the chase?
1895.
That's pretty specific. What happened in 1895?
Well, it's like he said in the poem, if you're wise enough to find the blaze, with age comes wisdom, so it's going to be an old blaze.
Mm-hmm. And you think it's 124 years old? Is that what you're implying by the 1895?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, thank you for calling in. I know you've got, I've got about 5 or 6 voicemails that I'm going to play on tonight's show from you. So we'll play those tonight. We can talk about it some more.
Absolutely. I'll call in then.
Good. We look forward to it, Joe. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Thank you, Toby.
Bye now. Phone lines are open. 1895, says Joe Treasure Hunter, is an important date. 124 years ago. That gives us some context, he says. I'm out of water, and I'm out of water because my throat is really dry.
Probably because you talk too much.
Oh.
You said you're going to stay on topic. Then you're talking about the weather.
Well, I was curious.
What does the weather get to do with why the treasures have been found?
Keep talking. Your audio is off just a tad.
Well, maybe it's a good thing I'm not talking.
Talk to me.
Okay, maybe the treasure has been found because of the weather. How about that?
What does that mean?
Because it's covered in snow and rain and ice and stuff.
Okay, you're responsible for greeting this person and holding the conversation.
I'm done.
Hey, you've reached Shelley and Toby. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Turn off your.
I'm from Maryland.
Turn your computer audio off, otherwise you're going to get feedback and it's going to start sounding confusing. There we go.
Okay.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Your message received. Denise.
Hi, Denise.
I'm from Maryland.
Hi there. So, what do you think is the answer to the question, why hasn't the Fenn treasure been found?
Well, I would agree with number 2. People overcomplicate it, but sometimes your friends and family can also be a factor.
What does that mean?
Naysayers, you know.
Oh.
With all the information out there, sometimes they'll use that information against your solve and make it difficult for you. So that could complicate things.
They being your family and friends?
Yeah, they can say, oh, that doesn't sound like a place Forrest would like. Or, you know, things like that. So that might be something to watch out for. Or even other people on the forum, you know, being negative about things. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I vote for number 2, that sometimes it's hard when there's so much information and you try to match your solve against that information. And then if you have people, you know, so even though it might sound unlikely, I would say focus on the poem and the map, just like Forrest said. And, you know, don't overcomplicate things. So that's what I pretty much think it is.
All right, well, that's a good one. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
And thank you for your show. That's what I wanted to say. Just thank you so much for being out there. And, you know, people are feeling disheartened about things. And then the terrible weather this year, all the snow. So, yeah, I love your encouragement for everybody. Thank you.
Well, one of us is going to find this thing sooner or later, and you have to see it from my perspective. 2 days a week, I get to spend time with this young lady, and we get to talk about stuff, and we get to do stuff. So I always look forward to Wednesdays and Fridays, and I hope you guys look forward to them as much as I do. So
yeah. Yes, keep doing it. I didn't get to see your news show. I've been kind of busy lately, but yeah, keep doing things like that.
Yeah, we're gonna focus on it. We think there's a lot that can come as a result of people just talking about it, and I think that was one of the lessons that I took from my conversations with Sherry, and that was that there was a lot of conversation about this in the forums. There was a lot of challenging of clues. I thought it was interesting that she didn't get it into that search until the very end, and just had to work the last couple of clues because the others were all out there. And I think that's what we're missing in this search. I think because we don't have any way to confirm them, they had the benefit of solutions in the form of ciphers or deciphers. And
Right.
we don't have that, to the best of my knowledge. We don't have that kind of confirmation that we're making progress here. We just have to rely on storytelling, basically. So the more stories that we tell, the better off I think things will be.
Well, I think the opposite of Sherry, that the person who solves it might have came late to the forum and the information, so that they weren't so overwhelmed with information.
Yeah.
And if you just sat down with the map and kept trying it out and matching it up to real places on the map, that makes sense. So, and I think things like limiting the area of the search area, I would say discard that. You know, anything that could limit, if you've got places, don't worry about if you could walk or you can't walk there, you know, how far you might drive, those kind of things. People could argue against your solve, and then, you know, you don't end up going for it. And like you said, we want someone to find it. It would be awesome if somebody finds that treasure.
So have you lived in Maryland? Have you lived in Maryland?
Sorry.
Have you lived in Maryland all your life?
Yeah.
You have an accent, kind of central Maryland, not out by the bay.
Oh, you're familiar with the area? Yeah, I grew up right on the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, I used to keep
and it's hard. People. Well, one thing I would say, Toby, people don't know the Rocky Mountains, right? From being out on the East Coast, you know, you can think that the weather's ready for you to go out and look, and then, you know, there could be snow on the ground, like Forrest was saying in his last scrapbook. So, yeah, the weather's definitely a limiter this year.
Yeah, I think everybody's not necessarily upset, but I think it's set people back. Well, they wanted to start this search earlier this season because, like every year, some people believe that that this treasure is going to be found. And the reason I know the area, well, I lived in Virginia most of my life. Lived in Chantilly in Fairfax County, but I kept a boat.
Oh yeah.
I kept a sailboat on the bay at Harrington Harbor, so I'm real familiar with the area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sailed the
bay
Chesapeake.
is beautiful. What I love out in the Rocky Mountains are the rivers, the lakes are so nice.
Isn't that funny?
If you can put all those things together, yeah.
And I miss the bay. I really miss sailing on the bay. As a matter of fact, if you get a chance, my son Jason is in the room. Ask him to tell you the story about the fun week that we had on the bay together. Well, we had more than one, but there was one really special. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for calling in.
Well, I wish everyone good luck, and it was so nice talking to you. I really enjoy your shows.
Thank you. I'm glad that you called in.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.
You know, one of the things that I'm going to have to figure out is
How to stay on topic?
And well, that's one thing. Yeah. That's another thing.
You did ask.
But I need to figure out how to, there's a delay because this is going through 3 hops. You know, there's a delay between, it's like we have to say over, like we do in radio, so that the other person can start. Otherwise, we end up talking over each other.
Did you turn it off?
I did turn it off because we're about to close up.
Well, I had an idea that number 2 and number 3 are very similar. Okay, so we don't get it, or it's too hard, is basically, how do you look at Fenn? Do you look at him as some benevolent giver of treasures who wants you to find this so badly, but we don't get it? Or is he just some dude who sadistically put this out there to mess with our minds? He over-engineered it. I think it's kind of a perspective thing, because either way, nobody's found it, nobody has a clue, nobody's close, nobody has it in their hands, and whether that is because he over-engineered it or because it's too hard, it's really the same thing.
But there is an in-between perspective. Okay, let me add 2.5, and that is he's mischievous by nature. And so It is not necessarily that he's.
I mean, he was when he was a kid.
Yeah. Or you're pretty much who
He
you
spent how many years in the military? 20 years?
20 years.
Could you be really mischievous when you are in the military?
Yes,
You're
as a
in
matter of
charge,
fact.
everybody's looking at you and expecting the most from you, and you're just screwing around? That's okay?
No, he was.
Is that okay?
He was a fighter pilot, and I can tell you from experience. And he was a major. He wasn't in command of anything. He didn't command anything, right? He liked being a fighter pilot.
He commanded a post.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but
So he knew what it was.
but
to
I
be
know
in command.
fighter pilots,
Once
and I
you've
know
been in
people in the
command,
military.
you don't want to be screwing around and setting a bad example for
You're
everybody.
mischievous.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, it is my opinion. I do have that.
Anyway.
So I've turned the phone lines off, by the way. So first of all, a little bit of.
Housekeeping, you want towels?
Because I want towels, and I should have done that at the beginning. Don't forget to like this video. I raised my other thumb, but it's still covered with a Band-Aid. Like this video. YouTube likes it when you like our videos. And share it with your family, your closest neighbors, your friends, your business associates, and your social networks so that we can...
Just have it playing on your TV just
24 hours a day.
constantly until the next show.
And join us for our new programming model. Wednesdays at 1 p.m., a Fenn topic, like you see behind me right there. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., Hump Day Hoedown. Fridays at 1 p.m., another Fenn topic, 1 hour call-in show. And then Friday at 7 p.m., Fenn Fandango. So the Fandango, Friday Fandango.
Yes.
So that's our new programming schedule until something else, until the analytics tell me I'm doing something wrong, and then I'll change it again. But for
too many complaints that it's too many shows.
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
Yeah. Grizzly Bear says, I don't like it when mom and dad argue. We don't argue. We debate.
Are we your mom and dad?
We debate, and that's how we come to resolution. We always come to some form of compromise. That's how Shelley and I work. All right, guys, thanks.
Hey, if you don't want us to fight, usually we fight about money, so just give us more money. We'll stop fighting.
Like most moms and dads, right? If you'll just
get a job.
If you guys would get a job and be better, we wouldn't fight so much.
It's all on you.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Okay, say your goodbyes.
Thank you for being here today for AGK Media and the Wednesday topic of the week. I'm Shelley Carney.
See, we haven't even come up with a name yet. That's how new it is. That's how quickly we make these decisions. And I'm Toby Younis. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you tonight at 7 p.m. for the Hump Day Hoedown. Thanks for joining us. It's been a great time.
Hump Day.